The story begins with a situation similar to the opening of the first Nobody movie, where this time, Hutch Mansell is once again being interrogated by two federal agents. No one knows what kind of brutal act this father of two has committed now. Curious? Same here. So let's follow the story of this second Nobody sequel all the way to the end. 4 years have passed since the events of the first film. Hutch now lives in a new house and follows a new routine. The man who once looked completely ordinary has now returned to carrying out secret missions full of brutality. However, as a good husband in the middle of those missions, Hutch still takes time to contact his wife, Becca. Hutch's busy life makes Becca complain because he rarely spends time with the family anymore. Because of that, Becca hopes that this summer Hutch can take time to go on vacation with the kids. Hearing that wish, Hutch promises to make it happen.
Dinner, I'll make lasagna.
Sure, Hutch.
No, I can do it.
Later that day, Hutch meets a bald man known as the Barber. He is Hutch's former boss back when he was a hired killer for the American Intelligence Agency. From their meeting, the reason why Hutch returned to a violent life after retiring is finally revealed. It turns out Hutch's brutal actions in the previous film left him with a massive debt of $30 million to the Russian mafia. To pay off that debt, Hutch is forced to come back as a hired agent, getting paid based on how difficult each mission is. Coincidentally, he has just completed a mission to steal a data card from a criminal organization. Hutch tells Barber that he handled the high-risk mission by directly killing the criminals. Because he felt the mission was especially dangerous, Hutch demanded higher pay and eventually received it. After that, Barber offers him another mission. However, Hutch refuses because he wants to keep his promise to his family to go on vacation. During the mission, he also remembered a childhood vacation spot called Plummerville. Luckily, Barber allows Hutch to take a break.
I'm gonna take a break.
You take a break.
The next day, Hutch tells his family about the plan to vacation in Plummerfield, a place that holds special memories for him, and that he now wants to share with his wife and kids. Becca and their daughter Sammy are very excited about the plan. However, their teenage son Brady thinks Plummerfield is too childish, especially since Hutch's father, David Mansell, will be joining them. So the next day, they head to the nursing home to pick up the old barbarian grandpa. Long story short, Hutch and his family arrive in Plummerfield and rent a room, while David stays somewhere else. For Becca, this moment is precious because her husband can finally take a break from his Nobody missions. But for Hutch, this place brings back memories with his half-brother Harry, since it was the only vacation they ever had as kids. However, Hutch's daydreaming about those sweet memories causes a local police officer named Abdel to misunderstand. He thinks Hutch is staring at him and feels offended. Maybe he thought Hutch was checking him out. After dealing with that overconfident cop, Hutch and his family continue their trip by visiting the Plummerfield arcade. There, Brady tries to impress a girl by giving her game tickets, but her boyfriend Max doesn't like Brady's behavior.
Hey,
Thanks.
nerd. You getting some nerds with your tickets, nerd? What's up? Tell me you're sorry. For what?
Max gets revenge by destroying Sammy's prized doll. Not accepting his sister's doll being ruined, Brady immediately punches Max, and a fight breaks out. Instead of stopping it, a staff member sides with Max. Hutch sees this and steps in to defend his son. Luckily, Becca quickly tells them to stop and not continue the fight. She chooses to avoid trouble and takes her kids away. But out of nowhere, the staff member suddenly slaps Sammy on the head, instantly igniting Hutch's violent instincts. Hutch's aggressive retaliation gets him in trouble with the police, and he meets Officer Abdel again. At the police station, Hutch advises Brady not to solve problems with violence. However, Brady snaps back, saying his father is far more violent. Not long after that, Abdel drags Hutch to meet the owner of Plummerfield, a man we'll call Pie Joe. It turns out Max is Paijo's son. Luckily, Paijo doesn't push the issue as long as Hutch's family leaves Plummerfield immediately. However, Abdel doesn't want the matter to end there, seemingly because he still isn't satisfied. After Hutch is released, Abdel orders his men to get rid of Hutch. When Hutch returns to the inn, Becca gets angry over the mess he caused during their vacation.
The sight of you? Brady's already aggressive, and do you know why?
Her anger fades after Hutch promises not to cause any more trouble. He also softens her heart by giving her a bottle of liquor that makes her feel dizzy. The next day, the family continues their vacation. However, Hutch realizes that a police officer has been watching them. Worried about his family's safety, Hutch tells his wife and kids to take a boat first, while he follows on another boat. On that boat, the cop and some local thugs ride together with Hutch. Hutch makes it clear that he only wants to spend time with his family without causing trouble. But they underestimate him and attack him anyway. Unfortunately, in this fight, Hutch loses part of his pinky finger. That moment of weakness causes him to be thrown into the sea. Thinking he's dead, they are shocked when Hutch suddenly reappears and goes on another brutal rampage to release his anger. Who would have thought that an ordinary-looking dad actually has above-average fighting skills, enough to take down cops and thugs all by himself? After the incident, Hutch reflects on his fate, realizing that brutality seems to follow him wherever he goes. He then calls Harry to vent and says that Plummerfield is no longer as peaceful as it was when they were kids. But Harry replies that the place has always been dangerous. Harry reveals that back in their childhood, David took them to Plummerfield not just for vacation, but also to carry out criminal cleanup missions. To confirm this, Hutch calls Barber, who immediately confirms everything. Barber also explains that Plummerfield is now controlled by a mafia boss named Dina, a ruthless crime lord who controls smuggling operations involving Chinese salt, alcohol with one-piece labels, and illegal weapons, and is known for being cruel and unstoppable. Barber firmly states that he will not get involved if anything happens to Hutch's family in Plummerfield. Meanwhile, Sammy becomes interested in a dog at the amusement park, but a senior staff member forbids her from getting close to it. It turns out Paijo has a special connection with Dina, as he inherited a debt from his father to the mafia boss. That day, Paijo finally pays off all his debt. But Dina refuses to let him go. Since Plummerfield has long been one of her smuggling routes, Dina orders the corrupt officer Abdel to kidnap Max, Paijo's only son. On the other hand, Hutch knows very well that Dina is not an ordinary enemy. But instead of leaving town, he boldly sneaks into Dina's warehouse, which is heavily guarded by Abdel and his men. There, Hutch pours gasoline over stacks of cartel money and threatens to burn it if Abdel keeps disturbing his family's peace. Abdel panics and agrees to Hutch's demands. However, as Hutch is about to leave, he accidentally sees Max being held captive in the warehouse. Hutch faces a dilemma between saving someone else's child or protecting his own family's safety. In the end, his sense of justice wins. Without hesitation, Hutch blows up the warehouse, burning all of Dina's money. The news reaches Dina, who becomes furious. She can't believe that a simple family man like Hutch could destroy her business assets. From that moment on, Hutch has to say goodbye to peace. Meanwhile, Hutch brings Max to the inn where David is staying. Surprisingly, Brady welcomes Max warmly. But on the other hand, Becca is deeply disappointed. She feels that Hutch has once again failed to keep his promise to stay away from violence.
Hutch apologizes and even says that maybe the best choice is for them to separate, since he is a man destined for brutality. Hearing that, Becca can only pray and seek guidance. After that, Hutch goes to Paijo to tell him what happened to Max. But before he can explain, Paijo suddenly explodes in anger, accusing Hutch of making things worse. After a few punches, Paijo finally realizes the truth and thanks Hutch for saving his son from Dina. Paijo knows how cruel Dina is and believes this matter is far from over. Dina will definitely seek revenge. Without wasting time, Paijo evacuates the entire Plummerfield area, turning it into a battlefield. Unexpectedly, Harry shows up to help his half-brother again. Not to be left out, David, the old barbarian and retired FBI agent, also joins the fight. The four of them begin setting traps and strategies to face Dina and her army. Meanwhile, at the inn, Becca is seen reflecting on her possible separation from Hutch. She hears her children talking while staring at a tranquilizer rifle in front of her. In the end, Becca makes a big decision. She will fight alongside her beloved husband on the battlefield. Night falls, and Dina and her forces arrive in Plummerfield. Before the battle begins, Abdul suggests that Hutch and Paijo should surrender, warning that their enemies are no joke. But neither Hutch nor Paijo is afraid. Their refusal causes Abdul to order his troops to attack. However, Abdul is suddenly killed by his own men, and the battle begins. Dina's troops enter the Mirror Maze attraction, unaware that traps are waiting for them. Paijo lures Dina's men into the traps, but gets shot in the leg. Not wanting to be left behind, Grandpa David also jumps into the brutal action, though he ends up caught in an explosion. At the inn, Dina's men attack to capture Max and Hutch's children. Brady quickly protects his siblings, while Harry easily takes down Dina's men outside. On the other side, Dina finally reveals herself, accompanied by her two loyal guards, and immediately starts fighting brutally. For the first time, Hutch struggles against an enemy. With a smug tone, Dina says that Hutch messed with the wrong person. As Dina prepares to kill Hutch, Paijo steps in. Even after her right-hand men fall, Dina continues her attack. Just as Dina is about to kill Hutch, Becca suddenly arrives with a tranquilizer rifle, proving she's not just an ordinary housewife and is always ready to fight alongside her husband. Although Dina is taken down, her remaining troops surround them. At that moment, David, who turns out to still be alive, triggers the final trap. When Hutch nearly drowns, Becca saves him, showing that no matter how brutal Hutch's life is, Becca will always stand by his side. All these events bring us back to the opening scene, where Hutch is being interrogated by two federal agents. This time, he is not alone. Becca is there with him. If the first film had a cat, this one has a guard dog of Plummerfield. Just like before, the agents receive a call from their superior, ordering them not to touch this nobody. The film closes with Hutch reflecting on their vacation memories. Even though it ended in chaos, for Hutch there is something more important than peace itself, a family that stays together. The movie ends. From this film, we learn that no matter how busy we are, family always comes first. So, what do you think about this Nobody sequel? Were you satisfied with the brutal action of the legendary Hutch Mansell? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's it from Mamang Toby, the professional unemployed guy. See you in the next video. And with that, Burung Kuntul says goodbye. Fly high, little bird. Carry your dreams to the edge of the world, where a shining light is waiting for you to explore. Yeah.